So, we have to talk about that moment, you know, the one where Lucy Coe basically has the future of the Quartermain family sitting on the tip of her tongue. Have you ever wondered why some people just can't keep a secret even when the stakes are literally life or death? Well, think about what just happened between Lucy and Brooklyn Quartermain, because it is the definition of a ticking time bomb. Was this really just a simple mistake on Brooklyn's part? Or is she so desperate that she's blind to the fact that she just handed a loaded gun to the town's biggest gossip? Honestly, if you're a General Hospital fan, you know that Port Charles is basically built on secrets. But this one is different. This one could actually end a marriage, a career, and maybe even send someone to prison. Let's set the scene for a second. Imagine standing outside Bobby's and you see Brooklyn and Willow, two women who basically can't stand each other, actually hugging. It looked like a rare moment of grace, right? Brooklyn tracks Willow down and gives this big, emotional apology for being jealous about Chase. It felt sweet. It felt like maybe, just maybe, these two were finally moving past the drama. But then you see Lucy Coe lurking in the background. She's got those sharp, calculating eyes, and she sees right through it. The funny thing is, Lucy doesn't call Brooklyn out for being mean. She calls the performance perfect.
Why?
Because Lucy has been around the block. She knows that in Port Charles, you don't neutralize a threat by screaming at them. You smile. You hug. You let them think everything is fine while you're quietly digging a hole for them to fall into. But here's where my original thinking kicks in. Why is Brooklyn doing this now? Well, think about it. She is absolutely spiraling. She feels like she's losing her husband, Chase, to Willow's constant poor me act. Chase is a law and order guy, a hero by nature, and every time Willow looks like a victim, he runs to her rescue. Brooklyn realizes that if she keeps being the angry wife, she becomes the villain in Chase's story. So, she's trying to flip the script. She's using psychological warfare. She wants to make Willow look like a criminal so Chase will finally wash his hands of her forever. But is she acting out of love? Or is this just pure, unadulterated Quartermain ego? Honestly, I think it's a mix of both. She's terrified. She's protecting her family, her marriage, and baby Phoebe, but she's doing it by breaking her own moral compass. Now, let's talk about the plan itself, because it is cold-blooded. Lucy and Brooklyn sat down and decided that a little gossip wasn't enough. They want a scorched earth play. Lucy suggests pinning Willow as the hit-and-run driver from Jordan Ashford's accident. Can you even imagine that? We're talking about a criminal allegation against a sitting congresswoman. If this works, Willow's reputation is gone. Her career is over. And Chase would be appalled. But here is the massive, gaping hole in the plan. Brooklyn is the one who was actually in that accident. She was drinking with Lucy that night, just one glass, but still, and she got behind the wheel. So, her genius plan is to frame an innocent woman for a crime she actually committed. Is that not the most Quartermain thing you've ever heard? It's like she's trying to outsource her guilt to her rival. But why trust Lucy Coe? That is the question of the century. If you want a secret kept, do you go to the woman who founded the nurses' ball and thrives on being the center of attention? No, you don't. Lucy has what people in town call a loose tongue. She's evolved over the years from a mousy librarian to this eccentric, manipulative vixen, and even a vampire slayer. She loves the drama. She feels relevant when she's in on a scheme. But the psychology here is fascinating. Lucy isn't necessarily a bad person, but her ego is tied to information. Information is currency in Port Charles, and Lucy loves to spend it. By telling Lucy everything, Brooklyn isn't just making a teammate, she's handing the police a roadmap to her own arrest. If Lucy blurts this out to Nina, or Chase, or Willow herself, it's game over. And don't even get me started on Chase. Does anyone else feel like Chase is becoming a total liability lately? He's supposed to be a cop, a man of the law, but he's letting his heart run the show. He arrested Tracy, his own wife's grandmother, just because Willow said she was being hurt. He didn't look for the truth. He just wanted to be the hero for his ex-wife. You have to wonder, is he really that clueless? Or does he subconsciously want to be closer to Willow? It's a mess, and Brooklyn sees it. She sees her husband being manipulated, so she decides to manipulate him even harder. It's like a race to see who can lie to Chase the most, and honestly, he deserves better than both of them right now. The funny thing is, Brooklyn even went to Sunny to get Brick's contact info. She wants a high-tech frame-up. She wants Brick to hack the GPS on Willow's black SUV to place her on Route 91 at the time of the crash. Think about the level of effort that takes. This isn't a heat-of-the-moment mistake. This is a methodical, strategic destruction of another human being. And Brooklyn justifies it to herself by saying she's doing it to reveal a bigger truth. That is some serious mental gymnastics. She's literally telling herself that a felony is okay if it saves her marriage. Does that sound like a stable person to you? Or does it sound like someone who has been deeply traumatized by the Quartermain way of life, where you only win if you cheat? And then there's Willow. Oh, Willow. She's being played as the victim here, but let's look at the facts. She's currently drugging Drew and keeping him in a locked-in state. She shot Drew. She's making deals with Jack Brennan. She is not exactly a saint. In fact, some might say she's a she-villain hidden behind a congressional title. So we have two women who are both acting like total criminals, but one is loud and messy, Brooklyn, and the other is soft and sweet, Willow. Who is more dangerous? I'd argue it's the one who can smile while she's drugging you. Brooklyn is acting out of a desperate need for control, but Willow is acting out of a sense of moral licensing. She thinks because she suffered, she's allowed to be a monster. So, what happens next? This is where things get really explosive. My prediction? Lucy is going to slip up. It's what she does. She's going to get cornered, or she's going to have one too many martinis, and she's going to blurt out that Brooklyn is framing Willow. And when that happens, everything is going to blow up. If Chase finds out that his wife, the woman he's raising a baby with, tried to frame a congresswoman for a hidden run that she actually committed,
there is no coming back from that.
Chase is a law and order guy. He might take baby Phoebe and walk away forever. Brooklyn is literally on the verge of losing everything she's fighting for because she chose to fight dirty. It's almost poetic, isn't it? Brooklyn is becoming exactly like her grandmother, Tracy. Do you remember when Tracy framed Alexis for a DUI years ago? She literally moved an unconscious Alexis into the driver's seat of a car to protect Ned's marriage. It's the exact same move. The Quartermain DNA is strong, but so is the Quartermain curse. Every time they try to protect the family with a lie, the family falls apart. And now Brooklyn is doing it on a much bigger scale. She's not just moving a body. She's hacking GPS data and using a high-profile accident to destroy a political career. I have to wonder, what is the audience feeling right now? Are you rooting for Brooklyn because Willow is actually being a snake? Or have you completely lost respect for her because she's framing an innocent person for her own crime? It's such a moral gray area. And let's not forget about Ethan Lovett swapping DNA samples in the PCPD evidence room. Port Charles is currently a hurricane of lies, and Brooklyn is standing right in the eye of it. Do you think she can actually pull this off? Or is Lucy Coe the inevitable leak that ruins everything? Honestly, I think we're heading for a courtroom drama that will change the show forever. Imagine the moment the evidence of Brooklyn's own involvement in the accident comes to light. Imagine Chase's face. It's going to be heartbreaking. But that's the beauty of General Hospital, right? It takes these complex characters and puts them in impossible situations. Amanda Setton and Caitlin McMullen are absolutely killing it right now, and Lynn Herring as Lucy is just the icing on the cake. She brings that perfect mix of humor and danger that only a resident eccentric can provide. So, I want to hear from you. Seriously, let's get a debate going in the comments. Do you think Brooklyn has officially crossed the line? Or is this just what you have to do when you're dealing with someone as manipulative as Willow? And the big question, is Lucy going to spill the beans on purpose? Or will it be a classic Lucy-style accident? Make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you want to keep up with all the Port Charles madness. We are tracking every single move in this frame-up plot, and you don't want to miss what happens when the truth finally blurts out. Thanks for watching, and stay messy. Port Charles. Think about the long-term impact on baby Phoebe, too. If Brooklyn goes to jail for this, and she very well could, what happens to that adoption? Chase would be a single father, or worse, Willow could swoop in and play mommy. That is probably Brooklyn's literal worst nightmare, and yet she's the one building the path to make it happen. It's a Greek tragedy in a black SUV. The irony is just so thick you could cut it with a knife. Brooklyn wants to save her marriage, but she's actually lighting the match to burn it down. And what about Lucy? Is she doing this because she cares about Brooklyn, or is she just bored? Lucy has always been a bit of a wild card. She stabs people with broken chair legs when she thinks they're vampires. She's not exactly the most stable partner for a criminal conspiracy. I think Lucy might eventually realize that framing Willow for a hit and run is a bit too much, even for her. Or maybe she'll realize that if Brooklyn goes down, she goes down with her for being an accessory. That might be the only thing that keeps her mouth shut. But let's be real, this is Lucy Coe we're talking about. The beans are going to be spilled. Every couple of days, it feels like the tension in Port Charles notches up just a little bit more. You have the PCPD investigating, you have the Quartermaines plotting, and you have Willow lurking. It's a pressure cooker. And when you add a loose tongue like Lucy's into that mix, it's not a matter of if it explodes, but when. Are you guys ready for the fallout? Because I don't think Brooklyn is. She thinks she's in control, but in Port Charles, no one is ever really in control. The truth always finds a way out, usually at the worst possible moment. One thing that really sticks out to me is how Brooklyn is behaving like a true Quartermaine, but she's forgotten the most important rule: don't get caught. Her grandmother Tracy was a master at this, but even she had to go on the run when the truth about Alexis came out. Brooklyn doesn't have a getaway plan. She has a husband who is a cop. She's literally sleeping in the same bed as the law. It's incredibly risky. It's almost like she wants to be caught on some level, just to end the guilt of the original accident. And let's look at the optics Lucy mentioned. Willow is a congresswoman. A hit and run is not just a scandal, it's a career killer. The public would turn on her in a heartbeat.
Lucy is right about that.
But the public would also turn on Brooklyn if they knew she was the one who actually did it and then tried to blame it on a political figure. It would be the biggest scandal in the history of Port Charles. We're talking front page news, 24/7 coverage. Is Brooklyn really ready for that kind of spotlight? I also find it interesting that Michael is secretly working against Willow, too. Willow is surrounded by people who claim to love her but are actually trying to bring her down. It makes you almost feel bad for her until you remember the whole drugging Drew thing. It's a town full of people who deserve each other, honestly. But the collateral damage, Chase and baby Phoebe, is what makes this so emotional. They are the innocent ones in all of this, and they're the ones who are going to get hurt the most. Why does Chase keep falling for Willow's act? Is he really that gullible? Or is there a part of him that still loves her? Brooklyn's jealousy isn't coming from nowhere. It's coming from a place of real insecurity because she sees the way Chase looks at Willow. But by acting on that jealousy in such a criminal way, she's proving that she doesn't trust him. And a marriage without trust is already over, isn't it? She's fighting for a ghost. She's fighting for a man she doesn't even believe in. The deep psychological layer here is that Brooklyn is trying to save Chase from a threat she's mostly invented in her own head. Yes, Willow is a problem, but does she frame her for a felony problem? Probably not. Brooklyn is projecting her own guilt and her own Quartermaine ruthlessness onto everyone around her. She sees the world as a battlefield, so she's brought a tank to a fistfight. And the problem with bringing a tank is that you end up destroying everything in your path, including the things you were trying to protect. What about the high-profile arrest spoilers? Could it be Willow? Or could it be Lucy? If Lucy blurts out the plan in front of the wrong person, she could be the one in handcuffs. That would be a classic GH twist. Lucy sitting in a jail cell, still talking, still spilling secrets to anyone who will listen. Can you imagine the scenes? It would be comedy gold, but with such dark undertones. I also want to touch on the technical side of the frame-up. Using Brick to hack a GPS is a huge deal. Brick usually works for the mob, for Sonny. Bringing him into a domestic dispute like this is a massive escalation. It shows that Brooklyn is willing to use any resource, no matter how dangerous or illegal, to get her way. She's not a good girl anymore. She's a player. And in Port Charles, players usually end up getting played. Do you think there's any chance Willow actually doesn't have an alibi? If she was home alone or with a catatonic Drew, she's basically a sitting duck. Brooklyn is counting on that. It's a predator-prey dynamic. Brooklyn has found the weakness, and she's striking. But again, she's doing it with Lucy Coe by her side. It's like a world-class assassin hiring a clown to help with the getaway. It just doesn't make sense. And what about Nina? If Nina finds out, you know she's going to use that information to blow up Brooklyn's world. Nina and Brooklyn have their own history, and Nina is not someone you want as an enemy. If Lucy spills the beans to Nina, it's like throwing a match into a warehouse full of fireworks. The fallout would be spectacular and devastating. I'm also keeping an eye on Tracy. She told Brooklyn she was handling it and that she had a plan. Tracy is the one who convinced Brooklyn to keep quiet about the accident in the first place. She's the architect of the original lie. If the frame-up fails, Tracy is going to be right there in the line of fire. She's already been arrested once this week. She probably doesn't want a second trip to the station. It's just such a rich, complex story. You have the history of the characters, the current high stakes, and the looming threat of the truth. And at the center of it all is Lucy Coe's mouth. It's the smallest thing, just a few words, but it's the thing that's going to change everything. Every time she starts to speak, I find myself holding my breath. Don't you? It's that feeling of, oh no, she's going to do it. She's going to say it. That is higher attention television right there. So, as we wait for the next episode, we have to ask ourselves, is there any way out for Brooklyn? If she confessed now, could she save her marriage? Probably not. The lie has grown too big. It's a monster now, and it's hungry. She's committed to the path of deception, and as we've seen 1,000 times in Port Charles, that path only leads to one place: total disaster. Make sure you guys stay tuned. This is the kind of soap opera drama we live for. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's absolutely addictive. What are your theories? Do you think Chase will find out this week? Or will the writers torture us for another month? I think we're getting the explosions sooner rather than later. The clues are all there. The high-profile arrest is the big one.
Who is it going to be?
Place your bets now. And seriously, thank you for being part of this community. We love diving deep into these stories with you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a Port Charles update. We're going to be here for the fallout, the tears, and the inevitable Quartermain family dinner from hell that follows. See you in the next video. And remember, in Port Charles, the only thing more dangerous than a crime is the person who saw you do it. Let's just take a moment to appreciate Lynn Herring's performance as Lucy Coe one more time. She's been doing this for decades, and she still finds ways to make Lucy feel fresh and unpredictable. The way she plays off Amanda Setton's Brooklyn is just gold. You can see the scheme team energy radiating off them, but you can also see the underlying tension. Lucy is impressed by Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is terrified of Lucy. It's a perfect dynamic for a disaster. And what about the irony of the nurse's ball founder being the one to potentially destroy a nurse's husband's life? Willow was a nurse, after all.
There are so many layers to this.
It's like the writers are pulling from every decade of the show's history to build this one plot. It's brilliant, and it's why we keep coming back day after day. What if Lucy doesn't blurt it out by accident? What if she does it on